We are Latinx and Chicanx people who are part of movements for justice and self-determination for all.
Mi Gente was born in the fire of rising Trumpism, of white supremacist reaction, climate crisis, and the gap between the rich and poor widening more and more. It is also a time of Black movements for justice, LGBTQ liberation, land back, and the 99% rising up for economic justice.
We know that to fight for justice y el buen vivir, we must build independent political power here, in our barrios, our homes, our schools, and in our government.
To do this, we organize Sin Contra Desde, winning without and against the state, a framework for building power that we learn from our compas in Chile. And what do we mean by the state? We're talking about the government and those in power that maintain the status quo.
In the journey into the belly of this beast, there are many paths at many different points in time, and so many things have been lost along the way.
Some of us have lost our language, our land, our knowledge, our families.
We can't always find words for what was lost.
All over the world, across generations, there are versions of this same story.
In the beginning, power comes from the land, and the people hold sacred the relationship between the land and living things. But there are thieves on the prowl who are empty inside, and they want to fill themselves up with the power of the land and the power of the people. They use sharp knives to break up this power. They name and separate men from women, plants and animals from people, those who belong from those who are othered. They put fences around the land and cages around the people, and they steal our power and force us to make more and more and more, to fill their empty bellies. Eventually, bite by bite, they swallow the world whole. And the people must leave the broken land and flee the knives of the thieves. And while we are made brave by our survival, we are forever lonely for our homelands and for each other, and we are forever afraid. And now, some of us carry knives too, and there are cages around our hearts, and we are all told to eat the world in small bites, to feed the emptiness inside.
Is that the end of the story? What happens next?
That is the end of the beginning, dear one.
And what exactly does this have to do with us now?
Everything. You know, in Chile in the 70s, the knives were very sharp. Terrible things were done to the people to stop them from building power. The US was behind it, and the people resisted for decades.
So organizers in Chile haven't been confused about the state or government. Even though in principle it's supposed to serve the people, it's often been the primary vehicle for violence of all kinds and works on behalf of the wealthy, privileged few over the many.
So when people wanted change, they were mistrustful of the state, inherently.
How could we not be, after what we've seen?
The state is a thief with 1,000 knives.
And they knew that if the knives divided them, they would be destroyed. They needed to stick together. So they began to reclaim urban space, collectively, to move landless people into unused housing complexes, take over empty buildings, and claim space for the people.
Exactly. We couldn't wait for the state to provide decent, affordable housing.
We didn't advocate for new development or housing policy reform.
We took back what we knew was rightfully ours all along, a place to belong in the world for all people.
This is what we mean by moving without the state. Understanding in our bones that the state is not a legitimate mediator between us and the land, each other, our livelihoods, or our belonging.
And the state came back with laws and words and threats and knives to dispossess the people once again.
And so the people defended the occupations. This is what we mean by moving against the state, defending our wins and the dignity of our people.
But the knives and cages were still inside and among the people. They needed the attacks to stop from the inside.
And the work of defending the occupations was exhausting. They needed the attacks to stop from the outside too.
So they began the difficult work of seeking to govern, using what tools and resources exist within the state to benefit the many and not just the few. And in doing so, would develop new skills and bring those back to our people, who are often excluded from government, for us to participate and lead.
This is what we mean by moving within the state. Fortified within, fortified without, using the mechanisms of the state to protect and build the power of the people.
Wow, this feels distant. Like, I struggle to turn folks out to a meeting. We're not anywhere near taking over parts of the city with our bodies, or voting in our actual people.
Yeah, we're not on that level.
I hear that, y'all. We have different conditions here in the US. But the framework of seeing Contra, Desde, el Estado can still help us think about how we are opening up and holding more and more space, free from the knives and cages.
Yeah, I guess in some ways we're already doing that. Like, I know for sure we're not just waiting for the state to meet our demands, but we are taking what's rightfully ours without the state.
Like folks taking over empty houses, demanding housing as a human right across the country.
Or the emergence of these huge networks of mutual aid during COVID.
Or like a few years ago after Hurricane Maria, when the compas in Puerto Rico built these incredible centros de apoyo mutuo to help our people survive, and pivoted those spaces into centers for long-term organizing.
It's like many of us who have been part of bailouts, living into our abolitionist vision while directly freeing our folks from cages.
And then there's the work against the state and the corporations it protects. Lately, we've seen more folks than ever in the streets, standing up to white supremacist state violence and its vigilante counterparts. And the water protectors, the indigenous land defenders, the pipeline finders, and tree sitters have been blockading, barricading, and building autonomous occupations all the while, over hundreds of years, and still today.
This is joyous rebellion. This is alegre rebeldía. Lucha and struggle. This is our work.
And much of it is not even visible or remotely glamorous. But it's how we actually chip away at violent systems, poco a poco. Because holding ground is holding the dignity of the land and people.
Okay, what's the last piece? Is this the boring electoral shit? I'm way more inspired by Standing Rock than hustling to get some political elected.
Slow your roll. This piece is crucial, and is just as badass as the rest. The question here is, within our different contexts, what kind of takeover of state infrastructure, resources, and mechanisms is actually possible?
Yeah, because real talk, once you've been in the streets day after day, once you've served 1,000 meals or spent your last dollar and you've got no healthcare and you're simply just tired, then you know what I'm talking about. We can do for ourselves. We always have. But the state is constantly taking from us, taxing us, criminalizing us, denying us care and education, surveilling us and our kids, especially if we're organizing. We need what they're taking, and more, to get their damn boots off our necks and get the support for our lives we need.
So how has Mi Gente been working within the state?
In the 2020 election, we knew Trump was a threat to the existence and life of our people. So we got in the ring on the national level, and we defeated him.
We've been running our own people, building what they need to win and govern, training folks to run for office and run campaigns, and with those that have won, experimenting with what it means to co-govern with movement values and community.
There's a confidence you have to say, we're ready to have power. The people have the solutions. Our gente can get shit done.
And a lot of us, frankly, have been ambivalent about what it means to build and use our power. We feel more comfortable doing without and against work, even if that means tearing each other up.
But we've got to get serious about power rather than focusing on what we don't have or what we can't do. And we don't have the luxury of leaving tactics on the table.
Our grassroots opposition on the right is suiting up, y'all, and they've got the backing of big money and big government interests.
So we all need to practice to support each other taking risks, to get our people wielding power and be willing to try new things. And we need to do it all on all fronts. We need a movement that builds our gente's power within, without, and against the state. It's not one over the other, but all of it in relationship to each other.
The future of the world basically depends on it, and our people are worthy of us giving it all we've got.
Mi Gente! Mi Gente!